Good morning, grade 11. How are you today? Today, inshallah, we will continue talking about narrative verbs. And we will go over some exercises in your workbook regarding this kind of grammar, narrative verbs. We said that narrative verbs are used to narrate or to tell the past events, and basically we have three types of narrative verbs that we use them to talk about the past. Either you use simple past, or you use past continuous, or you use the past perfect. We discuss them together, and we know how actually are we going to differentiate between the three types. Each one has its own usage. Now, let's go to exercise 2. It's found in your workbook, page 44. In exercise 2, you need to choose the correct form of the verbs to complete the summary about rel. Let's read number 1. While, okay? Underline it, please. While is a keyword that we use it with what kind of verbs? We use it with the past continuous. While Lewis Brill, so not had studied, was studying. While Lewis Brill was studying at the Royal Institute of the Blind in France in 1821, a young military officer, what? Demonstrated ولا was demonstrating? No, he demonstrated, because those two actions are connected to each other, اللي هو ال past continuous with simple past. As if there is a line, he was studying, it's a prolonged line. And then a young military officer, what did he do? He demonstrated. He accidentally stopped this prolonged action. So a young military officer demonstrated the system of dots. Please connect the past continuous مع the past simple. Right. So the system of dots he had invented ولا was inventing. He of course had invented, because this action happened first. This action happened first in the past. So here the tense that we use is past perfect had plus verb 3. يعني before he actually demonstrated this system, he had invented it. يعني this happened first and then the demonstration of the system. Now after Bill, برضو underline after, because we said previously that after is one of the keywords that we use to talk about past perfect. دائما بعد after I should have past perfect. After Brill had seen the system, so this is the first action in the past. What happened after this? He worked for many years to improve and complete the communication method that soldiers used. So after Brill had seen this system, he actually had seen the system first. Then what did he decide? He decided, or he worked for many years to improve the communication method. After دائما معها past perfect, and then the second action which is connected to the first one has to be in simple past. Okay, he created, was creating a reading system that used 6 dots in 64 combinations of letters, numbers, and symbols, etc. So he created, do you know why? Because this is a completed action. He created this system and it's done. Okay, so here it's a completed action, and that's why we use simple past. Blind people could read this by running their fingers lightly across the page. 16 years after the death of Lewis Braille, blind people were using ولا had used Braille all over the world. طبعا were using لأنه إحنا we said we can use the past continuous to talk about unfinished action. يعني من هداك الوقت until now, okay, blind people were using this system. So this action is unfinished لأنه until this moment لسه the blind people were using this system. It's an unfinished action. بتحسوا فيه continuity بالusing للبريل system. So, was studying, demonstrated, had invented, had seen, worked, created, and the last one were using. Okay, in exercise 3, they say, each of these sentences has an incorrect verb form. Rewrite the sentences using the correct form of the verbs. يعني هاي sentence for example فيها mistake. You need to correct the mistake, but basically all the mistakes are related to narrative verbs. Number 1. I wrote an email when the phone rang. هنا في continuity بالموضوع. I wrote an email when the phone rang. We said after when I should have simple past, right? Well, action has to be continuous, right? I was writing an email. And then what happened? The phone rang. This action stopped the first action, which was what? Continuous. So I was writing an email when the phone rang. Such as I was driving my car when the dog parked. Or I was cooking dinner when he came. Number 2. People were finding simple ways to communicate before writing was invented. People found simple ways to communicate before writing was invented. So this is a completed action. While he was staying in Paris, this is correct لأنه دائما بعد while I should have past continuous. He had visited his grandparents ولا he visited his grandparents. طبعا he visited his grandparents لأنه the past continuous, okay, is interrupted by simple past. So while he was staying in Paris, he visited his grandparents. Such as while Lewis Braille was studying at the Royal Institute, a young military officer demonstrated the system of dots. Okay, 4. We were taking a taxi because the bus didn't come. Well, we took a taxi because the bus didn't come. We took a taxi because the bus didn't come. يعني هنا ما في continuity بال first action in order to be stopped by the second one. No, we took a taxi and this is as a result the bus didn't come. 5. My daughter learned the alphabet by the time she started school. My daughter had learned the alphabet by the time she started school. Had learned. Because this is the first action. She had learned the alphabet as she started the school. Exercise 4 is your homework for today. Answer the questions about you. What were you doing at 10 o'clock this morning? طبعا الكويستشن هنا نستخدم ال past continuous and to use the past continuous. يعني I was studying my homework, or I was doing my homework. Who were you talking to an hour ago? برضو past continuous. What did you do yesterday evening? Here they ask with simple past. You need to use simple past. For example, I wrote my assignment. What had you learned to do by the time you started school? And here had learned, you need to answer using past perfect. I had learned math. I had learned the alphabet. I had learned physics, chemistry. So your homework is exercise 4, page 44. Your homework is exercise 4, page 44. Thank you so much.